Good afternoon, I'm Charles Lejano. This is One News Now. Malacanang is refuting the World Health Organization's report that the Philippines has the fastest rate of increase of COVID-19 infections in the Western Pacific. But even with the government's own interpretation of data, the Philippines still appears to be one of the worst hit by the pandemic in the region. Maricel Halili with the story.
For the past 2 weeks, the Philippines has recorded the fastest increase in COVID-19 cases among countries in the Western Pacific region. Based on the data collected by the World Health Organization, the Philippines listed more than 8,000 new cases, followed by Singapore with more than 2,000. But Malacanang refuted the report. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the number of COVID-19 cases in a country should be analyzed in relation to its population. If this had been factored in, the palace said India will top the list, followed by Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Singapore, with the Philippines coming in sixth.
Nothing to be ashamed of. In terms of density, we are not number one in Western Pacific. Pero sa akin, hindi naman po ito contest. No? At ibabalik ko po yan sa projection ng UP. Kung hindi po natin ginawa lahat ng hakbang na ginawa natin, sobra pa po sa 3 million ang COVID cases natin ngayon.
However, based on the WHO website, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia are not part of the Western Pacific region. It means that using Malacanang's formula, the Philippines will still be second on the list, next to Singapore.
As far as I know, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh are still Asian countries.
The country now has more than 35,000 COVID-19 cases. If the trend continues, experts from the University of the Philippines forecasts that the country might reach the 60,000 mark by the end of July. Government officials think that with a worsening situation in Cebu City, the Queen City of the South will soon likely be the country's epicenter of the pandemic.
So sa ngayon, tama po yung sinasabi ni Jer Anyo na ang pinaka-main focal point po natin ngayon sa COVID-19 is really Cebu, considering that the parameters and the thresholds, new cases are really increasing, even surpassing the whole NCR.
President Duterte is expected to address the public tomorrow on whether to extend, lift, or impose stricter community quarantine in different parts of the country. For News 5, Maricel Halili, we are One News.
Cases have been continuously rising, and just today the DOH tallied close to 1,000 new cases. Around 640 of these are fresh and some 340 cases were late. That pushes the country's case count to 36,400. The DOH also reported 11 new COVID-19 deaths, bringing the death toll to over 1,250. With 270 new recoveries also recorded today, we now have close to 10,000 Filipinos who have gotten better from COVID-19. And the signs point to Cebu City being the country's new COVID-19 epicenter. The health department has reassigned some physicians to the city under the Doctors to the Barriers program. This, according to the DOH, is nothing new, as DTTBs have been deployed before under emergency situations. The DOH assures the public that no town or municipality will be left without a doctor. Meanwhile, UV Express units have been given the green light to continue operations starting today across a number of routes. Let's check out the situation on the ground with Gerard de la Peña. Gerard, how is their first day so far?
Charles, it's a slow start for UV Express drivers who decided to hit the road today after almost 4 months of non-operations.
It took more than half an hour before this van left from its depot along Ortigas Avenue extension in Cainta, Rizal, as passengers are far and few in between.
Okay, kasi makakapasok na ako sa aking papunta sa work ko ngayon. Ano lang nga, yun nga lang matagal lang yung pagdating ng mga passenger. So waiting lang din kami para lang mapuno itong van.
Meanwhile, UV drivers in Antipolo City are expecting a reduction in profit as their capacity was reduced in half. A van that can normally carry 18 passengers is now only allowed to take in 9. That's why not all of the more than 30 drivers that ply the Antipolo-Ayala route decided to go out today.
Siyempre nakikiramdam pa yung iba eh. At saka yung iba naming unit, hindi pa na i-inspection ng maigi.
UV drivers say they are implementing the safety protocols that the LTFRB prescribed. There are temperature checks, foot baths, and information gathering for contact tracing. Vehicles also undergo disinfection before and after trips. So far, there are 47 operational routes for UV Express units, and more will be opened in the coming days. Other UV drivers and operators made the plea to the government to allow them to operate soon.
Ang hiling lang namin sana matulungan kami makabiyahe kasi mag-aapat na buwan na kaming bakante.
Some traditional jeepneys, on the other hand, may only start mounting trips either on Thursday or Friday. Operators fear transport authorities ultimately want them phased out.
Palagay ko baka naloloko na rin tong LTFRB at DOTR sa mga decision making nila para sa amin. At yan yung sinasamantala lang talaga nila yung COVID-19 para tanggalin na kami.
But for the Transportation Department, this is fake news.
Hindi po totoo na sinasabay namin yung modernization program sa pandemya. Kasi in fact, nauna kami sa pandemya. 2017 pa po yung PUV modernization program.
Libira notes that jeepney drivers may acquire modern units until December this year.
Charles, the LTFRB is now looking at the routes of traditional jeepneys to determine which ones will be allowed to resume operations later this week. Charles.
Thanks for that, Gerard. That was Gerard de la Peña reporting to us live from QC. Still on transportation, the DOTR denies allegations that it is taking advantage of the pandemic to railroad its controversial PUV modernization program. In an interview with One News's Agenda, DOTR Assistant Secretary Mark De Leon says the health crisis simply revealed why transportation in the Philippines badly needs an upgrade.
We have been doing this since 2017. Na-highlight lang siguro, Sir Sito, today in this pandemic because the same policies of public transportation, an efficient, safe, reliable public transportation is very much needed during these times of quarantine, during these times of pandemic. The same policies on modernization, the same policies on improving public transportation is being applied.
And even though public vehicles are gradually resuming operations, threats to the livelihood of drivers are far from gone. For one, the Transport Department noted low passenger demand, even in high-density areas such as the Makati and Ortigas business districts. On average, De Leon says buses are seeing about 25% of their normal passenger load, although they are allowed to carry 50% of their vehicle's total capacity.
I think that is caused by a multitude of factors, Sir Sito. Some of the employees are already working from home, and some still has limited operations. So the expected volume of passenger demand is not there yet.
Let's pause for a quick break. More stories when One News Now returns. Keep it here. I'm Charles Lejano. You're still watching One News Now. Some government-sponsored trips for stranded individuals have been suspended after authorities observed an uptick in COVID-19 cases. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the IATF has halted the transport to Cebu, Mactan Islands, Western and Eastern Visayas, as well as to the Caraga region. For areas not covered by this announcement, a new protocol will be rolled out. According to the IATF chief implementer Carlito Galvez, PCR testing may now be mandatory.
We will submit our protocol this coming Thursday. Kasama po sa mga consideration doon is possibly ikakandak na po natin ng PCR test doon po sa receiving end ng LGU. Yung mga LG po na walang capability, ang national po ang magkakandak po ng PCR.
Woes continue for beleaguered network ABS-CBN. This time, they might have to stop airing shows even on TV+. To give us the latest update, we have Ria Fernandez live from the House of Representatives in Batasan. Ria, good afternoon. What exactly is the problem with ABS-CBN's digital box?
Charles, ABS-CBN may soon have to stop airing its shows on TV+. This after the NTC told House lawmakers that the network's actions violates the cease and desist order it issued last May. House lawmakers hit the National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC, for allowing ABS-CBN to still air through TV+ despite its expired franchise. This, according to Solons, violates Congress's powers.
Nung ito po yung unang pinag-usapan sa NTC, ang sinabi ng NTC sa atin, sinabi natin sa NTC kung pwedeng patuloy nila na magkaroon ng provisional authority habang naghihiring tayo. Ngayon po, itinigil ng NTC, sinidio ang ABS-CBN. Ngayon naman naghihiring tayo, pinayagan naman niya yung paggamit ng ere patuloy sa Digibox.
NTC Commissioner Gamaliel Cordoba confirmed ABS-CBN's continued operations using its sister company Amcara Broadcasting Network's Channel 43 on TV+. But the official said the cease and desist order last May 5 against ABS-CBN also covers Amcara.
Sinabi po doon sa aming provincial authority na ang digital TV ng ABS-CBN ay Channel 43. Sa madaling salita, yung pong pag-ere ng channel ng ABS-CBN ng digital TV sa Channel 43 ay kasama po sa CDO dahil ang franchise po na ginamit nila for that digital broadcasting ay yun pong ABS-CBN.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Boying Remulla grilled Cordoba for the NTC seeming inaction to halt ABS-CBN's activities on TV+.
Because they have committed an ultra-virus act, we have a ripe case for the Ombudsman, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, Your Honors, hindi po. Ganito po, pagka-issue po kasi namin ng cease and desist order, ay after a few days po ay umakyat po agad ang ABS-CBN sa Korte Suprema. So lahat po ng aksyon namin, dahil po iniisip namin yung case na pending sa Supreme Court, ay ayaw po namin magkamali. Kaya po ang aming ginawa ay humingi po kami ng tulong sa Office of the Solicitor General.
Cordoba said the top state council advised them to issue an alias CDO against the media giant's use of its Digibox, which the NTC vows to implement within the day. But this is a tad bit too late for Remulla.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that we already found a ground for this committee to file a case with the Ombudsman against Commissioner Cordoba. Tinignan ko po, Mr. Chairman, ang palabas sa TV+. Ang nakakagulat lang po, ang nabihong advertisement. Kumikita sila ng pera, gumagalansya sila ng napakalaki, pero wala silang prangkisa. At ito po itinorelate, 8 weeks na po yan, mula na nagsimula na hindi po tumitigil ang ABS-CBN.
ABS-CBN President and CEO Carlo Katigbak clarified they're only block timers in TV+ after all their Amcara shares were sold.
Pag pinutulan po natin yan, that's almost 55 million people that will lose access to their entertainment, their news, and information. So sana po, ang appeal po namin sa Kongreso is, in the spirit of fairness, please consider that you have allowed other companies to operate before.
Deputy Speaker Dante Marcoleta meanwhile thinks the NTC chief must resign after allowing ABS-CBN to broadcast through Sky Cable's digital wireless service, whose franchise expired too, as confirmed by the regulatory body. Charles, aside from ABS-CBN's alleged franchise violations, lawmakers are also poised to press on the network's supposed labor laws violations, with its former broadcaster Jobert Sucaldito as one of the invited witnesses. Charles?
Thanks for that, Ria. That was Ria Fernandez reporting live from the Batasan. For more updates, follow News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. You can also visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. And you can catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We are One News.